You finally hit $1 million saved. And the first thing you realize is you cannot tell anyone, not your siblings, not your kids, sometimes not even your closest friends. Because the moment people know you have money, they start spending it in their head. And that changes everything. I'm Cal Menzies, financial advisor at Insight Folios. And I've had this exact conversation with more retirees than I can count. Today, I want to show you why the silence is not about being cold or secretive. It's about protecting something most people do not realize is at risk. It's not just the money, it's the relationships. Here's a story I've watched play out more times than I can count. A client retires with a solid nest egg, 40 years of discipline and sacrifice. They're proud of it, so they should be. So they mention it to a sibling at Thanksgiving. Nothing dramatic, just enough for people to know that they're comfortable. And within 6 months, everything is different. The calls start. We're a little short this month. The kids need braces and things are tight. I found this business opportunity and I just need some startup capital. And here's what most people miss. These are not bad people. This is not greed. It is something hardwired into all of us. Often, once someone knows you have money, they may start seeing you as a possible solution to financial problems they're facing. They don't even realize they're doing it. But suddenly you're not just their parent or their sibling or their friend anymore. You are a resource. And once that dynamic changes, it can be very difficult to reverse. Here's what I've watched happen again and again in my own practice. In my experience, family loans often fall apart more quickly than people expect. Not because families are dishonest. There is no contract, no collateral, very little accountability when a payment gets missed. And both sides end up trapped. The person who borrowed feels guilty every time they see you. They start avoiding family gatherings. The person who lent feels resentful every time they don't get paid. They start keeping score. I've watched siblings stop speaking over $10,000. I've watched parents lose their relationships with adult children over loans that started with the best intentions. The money becomes a wall between you. And every month that loan stays unpaid, the wall gets higher. And then there is the co-signing, which is an entirely different level of risk. When you co-sign a loan, you are not vouching for someone. You're taking on their debt. Legally, you're equally responsible for every payment. If they miss payments, your credit takes the hit. And that damage can affect your own ability to borrow, refinance, or access lines of credit you might genuinely need. If they default completely, you owe the entire balance. I had a client who co-signed a car loan for her grandson, $30,000. The grandson meant well, but lost his job 6 months later and stopped making payments. She found out when the collection calls started. Now she's 72 years old, making payments on a vehicle she's never driven for a grandson who will not return her calls. That is not hypothetical. And every time I tell that story, a client across from me goes quiet because they almost did the same thing. Now here is the part that makes all of this so hard: the guilt. When you have money and someone you love is struggling, it can feel unbearable. They're working 2 jobs and you're playing golf. They're worried about groceries and you're planning a cruise. Saying no feels cruel. Protecting your own finances feels selfish. But here's the reframe that changes everything for my clients. The money you have is not a windfall. It is the result of decades of choices most people around you were not willing to make. You sacrificed. You waited. You said no to things you wanted so you could say yes to your future. And if you give it all away, you do not just lose the money, you lose the security. You lose the independence. You potentially become a burden on the same people you were trying to protect. I have seen retirees deplete their savings, helping family, only to find themselves needing support 5 years later. Generosity without limits is not a gift to your family. It is a second crisis. So what do you actually do? The first thing I tell every client is this: if you're going to give money, make it a gift, not a loan. I know that sounds backwards, but loans create an ongoing obligation that poisons relationships. A gift is clean. If you give your daughter $5,000 as a gift, there's no awkwardness at Christmas, no mental accounting every time you see her, no resentment building on either side. The one question to ask yourself before any gift is this: can I afford to never see this money again? If the answer is no, it's not a gift, it's a risk. And for 2026, gifts up to $19,000 per person per year generally do not require a gift tax return, although your specific situation is worth confirming with your tax advisor. The second move is to set your boundaries before you need them, not in the moment, before, because when someone you love is crying on the phone, it is nearly impossible to think clearly. But if you've already decided that you do not co-sign loans and you do not lend money to family, you can say that that is my policy. It does not feel personal. It protects both of you. And the third move is to guard your privacy. You do not owe anyone a detailed accounting of your finances. Not your kids, not your siblings. The phrase I give clients to practice is simple. We are comfortable, but we're on a fixed income, and we have to be careful. No numbers, no details, just enough to set expectations without opening the door. The reason wealthy retirees stay quiet about their money is not because they're cold. It is because they've already learned what happens when they're not. Money changes how people see you. It changes what they expect from you. It changes the nature of relationships in ways that are very hard to reverse. And the retirees who protect their wealth most effectively are not the ones who hoard it. They're the ones who understand protecting it is how they protect everything else. Their independence, their peace of mind, their relationships, their ability to show up for the people they love without becoming the person everyone is secretly calculating. If you're navigating this yourself and trying to figure out how to balance generosity with security, that is exactly the kind of conversation we have at Insight Folios. Not just the numbers, the family dynamics, the boundaries, the stuff nobody else is talking to you about. Book a time with me. The link is in the description below. If this made you think twice about a conversation you've been avoiding, that is exactly where we start.